Hi, I'm Chuck Myron,
And I'm his wife, Taryn Myron.
and we're married to Saturdays.
Married to Saturdays. Welcome back.
Well, so look, Tennessee is in a little bit of a free period, I guess you would say, of a bye last week, and then New Mexico State. Yes, they're taking on the Aggies, but the different kind of Aggies,
Yes.
not Texas A&M, but New Mexico State comes to Neyland Stadium this Saturday. So won't go too far into analyzing that one, but I do want to talk a little bit about Florida State. Of course, they've got Virginia Tech coming this week, and then there was the game against Clemson last week, where Florida State reverted to their losing ways. Yeah, tell me a little bit about what went wrong there and what has to go right against Virginia Tech.
Sure. So, to be honest with you, everything went wrong at the Clemson game. Both sides of the ball struggled. Offense, we struggled. Defense struggled. They let Cade Klubnik and his crew make too many good offensive plays. We just didn't have the talent. Like you said, we went back to our losing ways. It definitely wasn't the team that showed up against Wake Forest. So this weekend, we have Virginia Tech, and we need to show up. We need to win 2 out of the next 3 games to make it to the postseason. And I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Of course, I would love it, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
And when you say postseason, you're talking bowl
Yes,
eligibility.
bowl
That's
eligibility.
The goal now for Florida State.
Yes.
So, this has been just an incredibly inconsistent year for Florida State. You got the win against Alabama.
Right.
You know, a couple of wins against an FCS team and a Group of 5 team, and then a 4-game losing streak.
Yes.
And then an impressive looking win against Wake Forest. They just dominated that game from start to finish. Then the Clemson game, and now, so what to make of this team? What's driving that inconsistency?
I think part of it is injuries. Part of it is coaching. I know that Norvell has lost the locker room. At least he did a couple weeks ago. And, some of the players are coming back and saying, oh, no, it's not on Coach Norvell, it's on us. But really, it's on everyone. It's everyone's fault. It's the coaching, it's the players, it's everyone's fault.
Well, we'll look for hopefully a turnaround this Saturday.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think at this point, right, like you're saying, you just want to get to that bowl game.
Right.
You just want some measure of redemption from last season's disaster.
Right.
Obviously, that Alabama game was that.
Yes, that was huge.
But, Florida State has, again, like I said at the top, reverted back to their losing ways a couple of times this season.
They certainly have.
It seems to me like they have an opportunity, though, to play well down the stretch and build some momentum.
Yes.
I mean, the program has had so much negativity around it for the last 2 years, from the snub on forward. I mean, would you agree that that's really the goal is just to build some momentum going into 2026?
Absolutely. And if they can do that by winning at least 2 out of their last 3 games, I think the last 3 games, we have Virginia Tech, we have NC State, we have Florida, they're all winnable games. But the question is, can Florida State do it? That's the question. And yes, you're absolutely right. It will build momentum going into 2026. We will go to a bowl game. That would be such a huge step in the right direction after last season's 2-10.
Well, consistent execution, I think that's the key to get you there.
Exactly.
I certainly hope for your sake they can get it done.
And for yours, because you won't see an upset Taryn.
Right. But I think, so this game is in Tallahassee this weekend. I think really it's a must win. I don't think they want to put themselves in a 4-6 type hole to climb out of.
Correct.
I think really for Florida State the mission is run the table, win the 3 games, then win that bowl. And hey, guess what? Then you have a winning season.
An okay season. It's an okay season.
Yeah. Then you have a winning season, and something to build on for next year.
I love your positivity, and I hope it continues.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the rankings. So we've got another week of the playoff committee rankings coming in, and some interesting wrinkles, I think.
Yes,
So,
week 2 of the college football playoff rankings. We're going to start at the bottom like we always do, and we're going to talk about who's overrated, who's underrated, and who's properly rated. So, with that, let's get started.
all right.
All right, number 25, we have Cincinnati making their debut in the rankings.
Well, Cincinnati's in a really interesting position because they could play their way into the playoffs through the Big 12 championship game.
That's right.
They are one of 3 teams sitting there with either with one conference loss,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a big game coming up. Not this coming weekend, but next weekend against BYU.
That's
and
huge.
they have it at home in Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, where they sit in the rankings isn't nearly as important as how well they're going to do down the stretch,
Mm-hmm.
playing out the Big 12 schedule, and then possibly, if they win, they will be then in that Big 12 championship.
That's right.
They control their destiny. And they have a home game against their toughest opponent to do it.
Yes.
So, don't be surprised if we see Cincinnati in the playoffs at the end of the day.
Absolutely. They certainly have a shot. All right, at number 24, we have the only group of 5 team in the rankings with USF.
Well, yes, it's been a hit or miss and mostly miss season for the group of 5 teams. USF, probably the best of them.
I think so.
They have that win at Florida.
Mm-hmm. And at Boise State, or they have home against Boise State.
Well, that looks less impressive. Boise State has not had the best season.
True.
Really, it's going into an SEC environment,
Mm-hmm.
tough environment, winning that game, and that's what they're hanging their hats on.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another group of 5 team that has a win that's as impressive as that. And so they too, if they can win out, probably be in the playoffs.
Correct. And how much distraction is there going to be around USF with Alex Galesh as still one of the coaching candidates for a lot of these openings?
Well,
that remains to be seen.
That's what you live with. If you're a successful group of 5 school, you're always going to have rumors around your coach leaving for greener pastures. So that's a reality that you live with at USF, but it's a good problem to have.
Yes.
That means you're successful.
Absolutely. All right, at number 23, Chuck's favorite team, Tennessee.
Well, interesting that they crept up a little bit.
Yes, they did. It's great.
So no longer, I would assume, because I haven't heard Iowa's name yet. So if Iowa's still in there, that means that Tennessee is not the highest ranked 3-loss team,
Mm-hmm.
which could be important if we think about, maybe that ghost of a chance that they sneak in backdoor to the playoffs, that, 100 different things happen.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, not a good one. It's not one that I think Tennessee should focus on.
Right.
Really, you should focus on winning the most important games of the year now, which are at Florida, where
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee has not won in ages, and home against Vanderbilt. I think those would be the 2 best wins
Oh, absolutely.
all year
Absolutely.
if Tennessee can get them. So,
Right.
I think finishing strong is going to be the key for Tennessee here. And like every team that doesn't get to the playoffs, you want to build that momentum
Mm-hmm.
headed into 2026.
Exactly.
So, very interesting position here because at least, there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Exactly.
All right, number 22. We're going to go with Pitt. They have a big game this weekend that we'll get to later. But what do you think about them at number 22?
Well, again, here's another team, that can play its way into a conference championship situation.
They can.
And the Notre Dame game is really interesting
Mm-hmm.
because, look, if Pitt can pull off the win, and they will be playing in Pittsburgh,
Yes, they
it'll be a
will.
home game.
Game day will be there.
We think about, well, what would happen then if Pitt goes to the ACC championship, they beat Notre
Mm-hmm.
Dame, and they lose that ACC championship? Could they make a case to get an at-large bid?
That's a great question, and I think that depends on so many other factors between now and then.
Right. So, I think it would really sort of have to start with a dominant win at home against Notre Dame. But look, Pitt has played well.
They
They've
have.
got a freshman quarterback
Mhm.
who looks good. So, I think they have a tremendous opportunity in front of them right here.
I agree. All right, number 21, we have Iowa,
There
the
they are.
highest ranked three-loss team in the rankings.
Well, and that shows the committee showing respect for how they lost and who they lost to.
Remember, they just
which,
lost that close game to Oregon.
Which is a theme in why Tennessee is ranked as well as a three-loss team.
Right.
They lost in very close fashion to Georgia and Oklahoma, and so I think that Iowa has proven that they also challenged Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that has proven that it can play with just about anybody in the country, certainly anybody in the Big Ten.
Surely.
The blemish really for Iowa is that loss to Iowa State. That doesn't look very good, and you wonder, okay, who is Iowa's best win? Sort of the same problem as Tennessee has. Well, they have a tremendous opportunity though. Go out west, play USC.
If
and
they beat USC,
hey, if they beat USC,
there's
that's
more
a
chaos.
really good-looking three-loss team sitting right there. So, lots of chaos. Probably not going to get to the Big Ten championship.
Probably
but,
not.
An interesting team if we think about that ghost of a chance of, hey, does a three-loss team possibly get an at-large bid?
So with Iowa, like Tennessee, you're saying there's still a chance.
There's a chance.
Okay. All right. So number 20, we have Louisville.
Louisville. Well, Louisville is they also have that opportunity to get possibly to the ACC championship.
The ACC is in chaos right now. What can we say?
Louisville's best win is Miami.
Right.
I actually, I would put so Pitt is actually in a better position because they have that opportunity against Notre Dame.
Correct.
I don't think Louisville. I don't think they have an opportunity at all to get an at-large bid.
I agree.
So this is kind of, I think that they're an overrated team right here because they just simply don't have an opportunity to move up the way that the other teams do.
Right. I agree with you. They are slightly overrated. Well, we're going to stay in the ACC at number 19 with Virginia. Took a tough loss this week.
Yeah.
Or last week.
Yeah. Still with that up, there's so much, chaos in that ACC. Virginia, I think, is, and they've got Duke this week.
Yes.
What they really sort of hung their hat on was beating Florida State when Florida State was unbeaten.
Right.
As the weeks have gone by, that has looked less and less impressive.
Exactly.
And they just seem like a floater type team in that ACC.
Yeah.
I think they're overrated right there.
Now remember, Virginia only has one conference loss.
Right.
So there's still the potential for them to get in the ACC championship game.
There's a potential for a lot of different teams to get there.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk more about that as the show goes on. So now we have number 19. We have Michigan.
Here again, we have so this is a really intriguing team.
I think so.
Michigan, of course, Ohio State looms at the end of the year.
Biggest test, of course.
And that's a 2-loss team,
Mm-hmm.
not a 3-loss team, a 2-loss team. If Michigan runs the table, they're in the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about that.
They should be.
Obviously, they've got to play, one of the toughest games that anyone has left.
Yes.
But they're going to be at home. That game is in Ann Arbor this year, and Michigan has a knack for beating Ohio State.
At least recently, they've won the last 4 games, I believe, against Ohio State.
Right. So look, Michigan. They would then, if they can beat Ohio State, they solve the biggest problem that they have right now, which is they don't have a marquee win. So, obviously, that game yes, it so often is Michigan's season right now.
Yes.
They can't stub their toe on the way there.
Right.
They got Northwestern this
weekend.
week at
Right.
Northwestern. It's
Right.
a conference road game. Those are
Mhm.
always challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But look, I think Michigan is a team of intrigue, and I think they're properly rated where they are.
I agree with you. They're definitely properly rated and quite intriguing. And at number 17, we're going to stay in the Big Ten with USC.
Well, they're right where they are because they beat Michigan.
Exactly.
And they have an opportunity to beat Iowa too.
Mm-hmm. They definitely can make a case for the Big Ten championship or the playoffs. Maybe not the Big Ten championship.
I don't think they're going to get to the Big Ten championship.
But the playoffs, definitely, they have a case for if they run the table.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they lost to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They may, if we look at two lost teams at the end of the year, they may be up against Notre Dame for that last bit.
Right.
And so they may get squeezed out. Because again, we look at USC, they don't have quite the opportunity that Michigan has.
Right. They're not playing the number one team in the country.
They don't play USC, didn't play Indiana.
Right.
And so who is their marquee win going to be? And if you compare them to a Notre Dame,
mm-hmm.
they don't match up. They don't stack up.
Right.
So USC's best win is probably Michigan.
Michigan right now, I would say.
So I would say, you have to say they're properly rated because they're one step in front of Michigan.
I agree.
But that ceiling for USC, I think, is a little lower than Michigan's.
I agree with you. Now, number 16, we're going to go back to the ACC with Georgia Tech.
Again, another team in that ACC jumble. They have stubbed their toe, but hey, look, Georgia Tech is a really interesting, really super duper interesting
mm-hmm.
team because they have looked good,
and they also have a big opportunity at the end of the season
with Georgia. Yeah, and so obviously, look, if they, I think. The intriguing question becomes, if Georgia Tech runs the table
mm-hmm.
and they beat Georgia and they get to the ACC championship game and lose, are they going to get to the playoffs?
That's a great question.
What we do with the conference championship game losers is going to be a really interesting question.
Yes.
Every year we have this format.
Exactly. And we can't wait to break that down when the time comes.
It's an extra loss,
mm-hmm.
but you got that loss because you earned your way into an extra game.
Exactly.
And so, should that be counted against you, especially if you're coming off a loss the week or off a win the week prior in that case if they win out against Georgia. Now, it's also very intriguing. You could have Georgia Tech in the ACC championship
mm-hmm.
coming off a loss to Georgia.
Correct.
And obviously, you win that ACC championship, you're in.
Right.
But I think that game. Let's say it's a game like we had last
mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
8 overtimes.
Right.
They played. Is there any sort of world where Georgia Tech, and I believe they'd be a 3-loss team
mm-hmm.
in this scenario where they lose a very close one to Georgia, maybe lose a close ACC championship? We talk about there's a chance for some of these 3-loss teams.
Yeah, but I think at that point it's 3 losses. I just think it would be too much for Georgia Tech to overcome.
I think the biggest hurdle there would be the fact that they've lost 2 in a row.
Exactly.
They're moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So so maybe there isn't a chance.
Yeah.
For Georgia Tech in that scenario.
And I actually think Georgia Tech's a little underrated. They are a 1-loss ACC team. They are not the highest ranked ACC team. So I think Georgia Tech is actually underrated because we have a lot of other ACC teams, or at least one more, who has 2 losses we haven't heard yet. So I think Georgia Tech is actually underrated.
I think they're underrated too. But so hear me out on this though. Does that Georgia game really matter? For
Yes
Georgia
and no.
Tech?
Yes and no.
Because if they win it, well, I guess that's the thing. If they can win it, maybe lose that conference championship game, they might still get in. I get that's where it comes into play.
Right.
So.
All kinds of chaos is coming very soon. All right. Oh, so what do you know? We're going to stick with the ACC. This is going to be the highest ranked ACC team in Miami.
I think if you were to look at the resumes, just a blind resume test and rank the ACC teams, I don't think you'd have Miami at the top
I don't think you would.
because, look, they lost at home to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville's right there, right?
Yes.
They've just looked bad at times.
Right. But then there's times they've looked great, like when they beat Notre Dame.
They do have the win over Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They have the win over the best Group of 5 team right now
at
in
USF.
USF.
Mm-hmm. They beat Florida.
Mm-hmm. So, maybe they do deserve to be where they are. I just really wonder how much of that is because they're Miami,
right,
and how much of that is really deserved. I would actually rank Georgia Tech ahead of Miami.
I would too, and I was going to say I would flip-flop those teams.
Yeah, as would I.
Mm-hmm. All right, so, and one thing I just want to point out, it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions that get to the playoffs. So it may not be the ACC champion. It may not be the Big 12 champion. So let's just kind of keep that in mind.
So are you saying that
there's a possibility the ACC could get squeezed out?
So you're talking about like a USF or like an American Conference team outranking the ACC champion?
Now, I don't think that will happen, but I'm saying it's always a possibility.
That's, I think, fringe possibility. I wouldn't put too much stock in that.
I mean, I'm an ACC girl. Of course, I'm going to root for the ACC. But there's always that slight possibility. And that's every year, not just this year.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go up. And number 14 is Vanderbilt.
So, Vanderbilt, look, I think they have... it's really interesting, right? They are a 2-loss SEC team.
Yes.
They're the lowest ranked 2-loss SEC team. They don't have the kinds of wins that you'd expect from an SEC team that is a contending SEC team at this time. They profile a little bit like Tennessee in that regard.
I believe Vanderbilt's best win is maybe Missouri.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Look, what matters for Vanderbilt is the game at the end of the year against Tennessee.
Of course.
And that's at Tennessee. You got to go into Knoxville. And I think that's Vanderbilt's Super Bowl right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for right now, properly ranked. I'm not sure. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I think they should be behind Georgia Tech.
I agree with you. I agree. And like you said, it's because of the wins that Miami has, as opposed to Vanderbilt.
And, well, what about Georgia Tech?
They have 1 loss, and Vanderbilt has 2.
That's true. Yeah.
I also think Georgia Tech should be ranked ahead of Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Vanderbilt's a bit overrated. It's probably that SEC bias.
Well, it's for real.
Yes.
It is where, there is a class system that has the SEC and the Big Ten, at one step above the Big 12 and the ACC. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's just better competition in those conferences. So we're going to go to number 13. We're going to go to the Big 12, and staying at their position, their same rank, is Utah.
I'm not sure why Utah is there.
Yeah, I think they're a bit high. I think they should actually be ranked below Miami.
So we just got done saying there's an SEC bias.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 2-loss Big 12 team ranked above a 2-loss SEC team.
Right.
When do you see that? You don't.
And a 1-loss and above a 1-loss ACC team.
Right. Look, Utah's profile is, it's Big 12 on Big 12.
Right.
And I don't really understand why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the win, I believe, over Texas Tech. That's got them there.
Right.
And that's impressive, but that's not going to that shouldn't put you where they are.
Right.
So I would slow the roll on Utah being right where above some of these other teams, like especially above Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Because again,
Yes.
does two losses in the Big 12 does not equal two losses in the SEC.
Exactly. And if you think about who Vanderbilt has lost to, two very good teams. One of the losses was Alabama.
Right.
So.
I mean, there's no Alabama on Utah.
No, exactly. Exactly.
So they're overrated.
I agree with you. Well, we're going to stay in the Big 12. And number 12, we have BYU.
See, that's a team that I don't mind being right there.
I agree with you. They have one loss.
One loss. It is
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that they have the team that beat Texas Tech ranked below the team that lost to Texas Tech, but BYU beat Utah.
Right.
So, go figure there.
Yes.
But I think it's interesting. BYU looked bad.
They really
went on
did.
The road. In the conference game on the road is always challenging.
And it was early for them.
It was early. It was a 10 a.m. start if you're on Utah time.
Right.
And so, look, I think they're properly rated. They did look bad, but it's one loss. What matters, I think, for BYU now is that game at Cincinnati.
Yes.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
That's teller.
That's the BYU season right now.
Yes, exactly. So we'll see what happens with BYU as the weeks go on. All right, number 11, we're going back to the SEC and Oklahoma.
So, this is the position that Tennessee wanted to be in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Oklahoma also Oklahoma has one thing that Tennessee doesn't, and that is a couple of impressive wins.
Mm-hmm. They have a win over Michigan.
They have a win over Michigan.
Over Tennessee, of course.
And over Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're not marquee top 10 type wins.
Ranked wins.
But they're ranked teams. And in the case of the Tennessee win, they went on the road to get it done. So, look, Oklahoma has a huge game against Alabama.
In Tuscaloosa this weekend.
It's probably for their playoff lives.
Yes.
They're playing. Oklahoma's basically in the, in a playoff mode anyway, because they've just got to win.
Right.
To keep winning. I think it'd be really interesting to see if they can get a better performance from John Mateer. He has not looked quite himself
since the surgery,
since the broken hand. So, a really tough assignment against Alabama. But if they can win it, obviously, then you say, well, Oklahoma is
it's for real.
It not only for real, but really inching up, and you think about they're not going to get the SEC championship. They have 2 losses, but maybe a top 6 or 7 team, at the end of the day,
and possibly into those playoffs as well.
Yeah, and possibly a team that can host a game in the playoffs.
Exactly. All right, so let's get to that top 10. Now, for this week in the playoffs, number 10 was what they call the cut line, because you would have, as of today, the highest ranked ACC team, which would be Miami, and the highest ranked group of 5 team, which would be USF, and then 10 other teams. So 10 and up would probably be in the playoffs as of today, or would be in the playoffs as of today. So number 10 is Texas.
Texas, a really inconsistent team.
Yes.
And I'm fond of saying if you're inconsistent in college football, you're failing.
Yes. Because
you got to make the top 12, or in this case maybe the top 10, to get to postseason.
Correct. Playoffs.
So Texas has to now they have the opportunity to start to establish some consistency.
Exactly.
To play better than they did at the beginning of the season, to show that they are improved. Of course, it all comes down to that game against Texas A&M.
Well, no, they have a game against Georgia this weekend. This is huge in Athens.
Well, but
if they lose this, they're out of playoff contention.
That's true, and I think that's the other thing for Texas is that's a really tough.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 weeks where you got to play these kinds of games. With Georgia
Yes.
and with Texas A&M.
Yes.
And look, if Texas can come through that
and win both of those games. Wow.
And they probably won't go to the SEC championship. They might.
There's
they
a
might
chance.
back in. But can you imagine a better looking 2-loss resume? You could have Texas and Oklahoma sitting up there with 2 losses, and we might say, well, geez, these are top 5 teams.
Right.
And neither of them gets into the SEC championship. But both of them have a chance to really make some statements as we head into the final 3 weeks of the season.
Exactly. I think it's going to be a really interesting couple of games this weekend. Really interesting to see what's going to happen with Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah, but I think Texas and Oklahoma are properly rated right now.
I agree.
Where they are.
And then we'll find out more this weekend from both of those teams. All right, so let's go up in the rankings. To number 9, we have Notre Dame.
Well, Notre Dame has tremendous momentum. 7 wins. They have the win against USC. It is not all cupcakes.
Right.
It is,
They blew Navy out last weekend.
Mostly cupcakes.
Yes.
But not all cupcakes.
Yes.
But they lost to Texas A&M, which is not a bad loss.
Right. It's a great loss.
And they lost to Miami.
Right. Which has been inconsistent as of late.
So, I think Notre Dame, as the weeks have gone on and other teams moved around them and they've just continued to win, that looks like a team that is properly rated where they are. But they've got a chance to prove it.
This weekend. Against Pitt.
At Pitt.
That's right.
As it happens, Pitt has started to play better, and that's a legitimate test where we can say, okay, Notre Dame, if they win this one, then, that's legitimately a top 10 team.
Exactly. I agree with you. All right. So at number 8, we have Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon, I think they're overrated.
Really?
Because
they just beat Iowa in a close game.
Yes. On the road in bad weather.
Yes.
And they're able to pull it out. But that's their best win of the year.
Right.
And even though they only have the 1 loss, and it's to
Indiana.
I haven't seen enough that says that they're better than Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma.
So where would you rank them? Would you rank them under Notre Dame, Texas, and Oklahoma?
I actually would, because I think they have feasted on a pretty top heavy and a Big Ten.
Yes.
They were 1 field goal away from losing that game against Iowa. I think
they almost lost to Penn State.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't look like a good win now.
That went to overtime.
Right.
Penn State.
Right.
You look at how you win and how you lose. It's not just the result; it's what happens in those games.
Right.
And Oregon just has not looked that impressive this year.
Exactly. But we'll see. They don't really have a lot of big games left. And they may or may not slide into that Big Ten championship, depending on how those other 2 teams at the top of the conference do. So they've still got a chance to get into that Big Ten championship.
They do. Somebody has to stub their toe.
Yes.
That's the thing. Because I remember, Ohio State and Indiana don't play each other.
Right. And neither one of them have a loss.
They could roll in with dueling unbeaten conference records.
Yes.
Unbeaten overall records too.
Right.
Into the Big Ten championship game. And so I think, Oregon is in a kind of tough spot. If we think about, getting a bye, getting a home game, they might be challenged to do that.
Right. Do I think if Oregon wins out, they'll make the playoffs? Absolutely. A 1-loss Big Ten team.
But
like you said, where are they going to go? That's up for further discussion.
Yeah, because think about we're talking about, look, the kind of resumes that Texas and Oklahoma could build with 2 losses.
Right.
I already think, you can make a case for those teams jumping Oregon just based on,
who they've played, who they've
played, how they played.
Mm-hmm. And even
so,
who they've lost to.
But at the end of the year, I think the committee could go and take Texas. If they win out, Oklahoma, if they win out, and rank them over Oregon.
Absolutely.
Even though Oregon then might have just one loss, and those two teams would have two.
Right. I agree with you. All right, at number 7, we have Mississippi, Ole Miss.
Look, they have only the loss to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They have
they have Florida at home this weekend.
It's not the strongest SEC schedule, but they have performed well against the opponents that have been in their path.
That's
much like Texas A&M. I'm not. They're almost. I don't want to say they profile a little like Oregon, because they have beaten that middle, that soft middle of the conference.
Right.
I think they're another team that you could see Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe not Oklahoma, because I think they beat Oklahoma.
I think they did.
Yeah. So, but you could see them start to get jumped by some other teams that have a more impressive resume. Might have more losses, but their wins add up to more.
I don't think
Texas in particular.
Yeah, I don't think Mississippi though is in the same state as an Oregon team. I think they've had better competition, and like you said, they've had the one loss to a Georgia team. When you compare Georgia and Indiana, I mean, kind of similar teams though. So I don't know. I think you still put Mississippi above Oregon.
I think you do. You certainly put Mississippi above Oregon. And so in that regard, they're properly rated.
Yes.
But I'm not so certain that by the end of the year, at least, that we don't see a 2-loss team nosing its way on top of Mississippi.
We'll see.
It just depends. Like you could look at it one way, one or two ways. You could either count the wins and losses,
right,
or you could look at it more holistically and say, okay, who did you beat? Who did you lose to?
Right.
How did you win? How did you lose?
Right.
So I think the committee is. I think this year in particular, with the different metrics, is going to look more into the who's and the hows.
Exactly. All right, at number 6, we have the highest ranked Big 12 team, Texas Tech.
So,
I think they're a little high.
I don't.
Okay.
I think they proved, so all year long I've been looking for a Big 12 team to distinguish itself. Well, last week, Texas Tech.
You think it's Texas Tech?
Texas Tech beat an undefeated BYU team, manhandled them,
yes,
just throttled their offense,
yes,
and that defense looks, worth the money.
Was Patrick Mahomes actually in the game? I mean, that's how good they looked.
Well, to me, it was the Texas Tech defense.
Yes,
they just looked, every bit the sort of hype that they had coming into the season.
Exactly.
So, look, Texas Tech seems as good as advertised. They're properly rated right where they are. They are the class of that Big 12 until further notice.
Correct. And the Big 12 is a little chaotic, but not as much as it was, I think.
No, because now we have a clear front runner.
Right, in Texas Tech. Well, let's get to that top 5. Now, that top 5 is unchanged from the previous week. So, number 5, we have Georgia.
Georgia, it was a fantastic chance to prove their value.
Yes, this weekend.
This is interesting. So if they go out there and beat Texas resoundingly, remember they beat Texas twice last season, in the regular season and the SEC championship.
Correct.
Well, what do you do with Georgia? Do you move them up? And then if you move them up, who are you moving down?
And I think that depends largely on this number 4 team, Alabama, and how they do this weekend.
Look, Georgia's properly rated at 5, and Alabama's properly rated at 4.
I agree.
It will be really interesting to see if the committee, Alabama has that game against Oklahoma too.
They
both
have really big games this weekend.
Let's say Alabama edges Oklahoma, and Georgia blows out Texas. What do you do there? Do you honor that head-to-head win
Right.
of Alabama over Georgia, or do you again look at the who's and hows?
Mm-hmm.
How do you play?
Right.
How do you win? How do you
Right.
lose? So,
and Alabama's beat a lot of great teams this year. Of course, they lost to Florida State, and yes, I'm hanging my hat on that this year because it's all I have. However, and that loss just looks worse and worse for Alabama every week.
right.
However, they beat Georgia. They beat a lot of other good teams. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Missouri. They beat Tennessee. So they have a lot of good wins.
Right. But it's another argument for, hey, if Georgia beats Texas resoundingly and Alabama gets a close win against Oklahoma,
Right.
then you can say, well, wait a second. Hey, I know Alabama beat Georgia, but Georgia has looked better, and they don't have that stinker of a loss that Alabama does.
And remember, Texas beat Oklahoma, so that might factor into all that too.
Exactly.
So I think this is a really exciting weekend for those games. It's going to tell us a lot, I think, next week. Number 3. So we've talked about 5. We've talked about 4.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, we have Texas A&M.
Again, so much comes down to that game at the end of the year with Texas and Texas A&M. Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, both teams have to keep winning.
Yes, exactly.
So Texas A&M, like both Georgia and Alabama have the big kind of marquee opponent this week.
Mm-hmm. And they both play a tougher schedule.
Right. And so now we think about, okay, what happens if they both win? Is there a world where you say, okay, we're going to move Alabama and Georgia up one spot each, and we're going to take Texas A&M down by 2 spots, even though they're undefeated?
It could happen. Again, look who Texas A&M has played this year. Who have they beat?
It's not the best SEC schedule. Still an SEC schedule.
An LSU team who obviously has not been good this year.
This is
it did beat Notre Dame.
Right. Exactly.
So that is their marquee win. Alabama's marquee win right now would be Georgia. Let's
say Notre Dame loses to Pitt this week.
Oh boy.
How does that?
That could affect Texas A&M. Yeah.
But look, I think you're seeing one of the dynamics of these really big conferences.
Yes.
is you have teams in the same conference playing really different schedules.
Yes.
And you don't have the head-to-heads that you used to have.
Right.
So this is really interesting because we've not seen conferences of this size, it's changing the way we're thinking of these teams.
It really is. In the year. Yeah, it really is. It's really exciting. So I guess my question is, do you think Texas A&M is properly rated, overrated, or underrated?
They're properly rated.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about number 2, Indiana. I think you could make a case for them to be number 3, just because of the way that they played last weekend. They almost lost to Penn State.
Again, going back to your question, is Texas A&M. Let me reverse that. I think Texas A&M is underrated.
Really?
Yeah, which is obviously.
Okay.
I was as slow to get on that Texas A&M
bandwagon. We both were.
But I think, look, again, you go back to your who's and how's. Mm-hmm. Who do you beat? How do you play? Indiana played a Penn State team, and now that's a Penn State team that's got some talent.
Sure.
And, that was on the road, and I always talk about how tough it is to win on the road in your conference.
Right, and Penn State is a hard place to play.
110,000 people.
Yes.
But look, you talk about the length of a toe.
Right.
That literally is the difference between Indiana winning and losing that game.
Right.
They barely won.
Mm-hmm.
Great drive by Mendoza, and that amazing Hoosier offense. And some very questionable decisions to be very conservative with the ball by Penn State on their final drive.
Exactly.
But look, given everything that has happened with Penn State and everything that we've seen so far this season with Indiana, that was thoroughly unexpected.
Yes.
And I think if I were saying, okay, how do these teams stack up? I would much rather have an undefeated SEC team. I'd much rather feel a lot more comfortable with that team at number 2 than I would with Indiana. So I would flip-flop Indiana and Texas A&M.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you on that. I think based on last week that they should be flip-flopped as well. Indiana's a great team, not taking anything away from them. But I agree with you, they should be number 3. And now, of course, number 1 is Ohio State.
Well, look, they're now, I think even more entrenched
Yes.
at number 1 now that Indiana has, kind of cooled off a little bit.
A little.
And for Ohio State, well, there's another team. It all comes down to that game at Michigan. They have to go on the road to Ann Arbor, well, that means so much.
Yes.
Or does it?
I think it's huge for both teams. Of course, for Michigan, and it's huge for Ohio State. Not as big for Ohio State because let's say they lose to Michigan. Guess what? They're still probably going to go to the conference championship game.
Yeah, I
think they'll still go over Oregon.
Gets interesting with the tiebreaker there because one loss teams, but that you could still have Ohio State could have 2 colossal clashes back-to-back weeks.
Yes, Michigan and Big Ten
and then
championship.
Big Ten championship likely against Indiana.
Correct.
So that's a lot to go through, and then go to the playoffs.
Exactly.
So I wonder, again, Ryan Day proved so many things last year with the playoff run.
Now remember, they did not go to the Big Ten championship game last year.
Right.
It's a little different.
You don't have to beat Michigan. You don't have to win the Big Ten to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Right.
It's a different world.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
And I really wonder, how intensely is Indiana going to play that Michigan game? Michigan's going to have everything to play for in that game. Ohio State's not on it.
Right.
They know they can lose that game and still win it all.
Yes, but they're such big rivals that, Ohio State doesn't want to lose that game.
But
if for no other reason, they're huge rivals.
But does Ryan Day say to the team, hey, look, listen, let's not kill ourselves to win this game. Let's not go all out. Let's not take, chances and get ourselves hurt and exhausted because, much bigger game against, potentially Indiana the next week. And then, then the playoff games that, are all important. So, look, that's a really interesting dynamic.
I think so too.
that I don't think we've ever really had to think about
until
now. So but Ohio State number 1, obviously properly rated.
Absolutely. Okay, and those are our rankings.
All right. Well, let's look ahead to the games this weekend.
Yes.
We've got
some really big ranked on ranked team matchups this week.
Well, I wouldn't call it the best slate.
I didn't say the best. I just said we have really big ones.
there are a couple. Now, early in the day, of course. Well, I'll mention a couple actually of Friday night games.
Okay.
The first one is interesting in the ACC. Clemson on the road at Louisville, 7:30 ESPN Friday night.
In Clemson, you can never tell which Clemson team you're going to have. Of course, ask me from last week. Clemson did great. Props to them. But then they have weeks where they just stub their toe. So which Clemson team is going to show up? If the Clemson team shows up who played against Florida State last week, they're going to beat Louisville and send the ACC into even more chaos.
That would eliminate one. Well, probably less chaos because then you eliminate Louisville from that ACC title race.
Yes.
All right, and then 9:00 Fox, Minnesota at Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Minnesota's 6-3.
Right, they're not a bad team. I think Oregon really needs to pay attention to Minnesota and avoid it being the trap game.
Right. So, that one, though, at Oregon,
Mhm.
and it is fairly late at night.
Yes.
So, look, starting it off, noon, the next day, Notre Dame at Pitt.
Great game. I know we've talked a lot about this one, so definitely turn your dials to that one.
That one, noon on ABC.
On ABC.
Noon, Big Ten Network, Wisconsin at Indiana.
Wisconsin has not been the team we all thought they would be this year, so I don't expect Indiana to have a problem.
Well, Wisconsin, though, they just got their first conference win last week.
Right.
I look, Indiana. I'm sure Signetti will have them playing in a fury.
Yes.
I don't think he'll want a repeat performance of the
Penn State game. Yes.
The dramatic finish.
Yes.
Everyone I think will expect Indiana to roll at home. But
yes.
We'll see. Noon, ESPN, South Carolina at Texas A&M.
South Carolina's pesky. They failed to meet expectations this year, but never discount Lenora Sellers and his team.
Well, Mike Shula no longer
Yes.
the OC there.
Yes.
So maybe that'll loosen some things up.
Mhm.
I still think, look, Texas A&M at home, undefeated. I'm a believer now. I think they should be number 2.
Yes, I am too.
And a chance to prove that.
They've just got to continue to prove it.
Yeah, this week. Noon, also, Michigan at Northwestern on Fox.
Now, don't discount Northwestern here. Northwestern has a good team. They've been playing better in the second half of the season. So I think it's a Big Ten opponent on the road. I expect Michigan to be challenged this game.
Okay, and conference game on the road.
Yes.
And the gales of November coming off that lake at Northwestern.
That's
certainly,
right.
It will be a factor. Noon also, South Florida at Navy, ESPN 2.
Navy's had a really easy schedule this year, except for Notre Dame last week. So this will be a great game to watch, and the whole Group of 5 drama playing out.
Well, will somebody in the Group of 5 please step up here?
Yes.
We think we know who the Group of 5, the best team in the Group of 5 is until
it changes
they
every
lose
week.
the next week.
Exactly.
So I think USF has to assert itself.
Yes.
And but again, on the road.
Right.
Gotta get it done. Okay, noon, Arizona at Cincinnati on FS1.
I think Cincinnati just needs to keep on rolling right now to prove its shot in the Big 12.
Again, look, it's a potential trap game though, because of course they've got BYU next week.
Exactly.
And Arizona is 6-3.
Right, not a bad team.
No. So that I think could be more intriguing than you think.
I think so too.
Okay. Noon, ESPNU. Well, that's Kansas State, Oklahoma State. So I think we don't need to go into that.
Yeah.
There's also Arkansas, LSU. That one 12:45 SEC Network. Some SEC also Rams. Let's skip ahead to the 3:30 games.
Okay.
Big one, huge one. Oklahoma at Alabama, 3:30.
Yes, we've talked a lot about this game. We will definitely be watching this one on Saturday.
Yeah. And at the same time, UCF at Texas Tech.
Okay.
3:30 Fox.
UCF is not a great team this year, so Texas Tech should not have a problem.
It should not.
Yes.
3:30 ESPN. You've also got NC State, the upset kings of the ACC, right?
Yes.
At Miami.
Oh boy. And it's November for Miami, and you know how Miami does in November. Not well.
Miami should roll, but these, NC State has a knack of pulling off the upset.
That's what they just did at Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, they did Virginia earlier in the year, and they're at Miami, where Miami lost to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, anything can happen.
I have a Miami on a slight upset alert here.
Okay. Also in the ACC, Georgia Tech going on the road, 3:30 ACC Network, to Boston College?
Oh, I think Georgia Tech will be fine. Boston College is pretty bad this year. One of the few teams that's worse than Florida State.
Yeah, as road tests come, shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
But of course, it will. You're going up to Boston, which can be a little nippy in November.
Yes.
All right, 3:30, Big Ten Network. We talked a little about this one earlier. Iowa at USC.
This is going to be a really good game. It's a little early. It's like a noon game for USC. But the problem for Iowa is they're traveling all the way down, across to California. That's going to be the issue for Iowa.
Iowa's not nearly as good on the road as it is at home.
Yes.
But look, both teams with maybe a chance to distinguish themselves, get a good-looking win, especially for USG as a two-loss team.
Right.
I think they could help themselves a lot by winning this one at home.
Right.
Okay, 3:30, ESPN2, Virginia at Duke.
Okay. Virginia shouldn't have a problem, but you never know because the ACC is chaotic.
Duke's got a chance. They're 5-4 overall, but they've got a chance to get to that ACC championship game.
Okay.
So, look.
That's what I hear. They have that chance. So
yeah,
you're saying
do.
There's a chance.
There is a chance. I think one of the keys is beating Virginia.
Yes.
At home.
Yeah.
So if Virginia is for real, this is a game they got to win.
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll skip ahead. Now, 4:15, New Mexico State and Tennessee. Talked a little bit about that.
I don't know. I think you might have some trouble with New Mexico State there.
Well, look, we hope. Tennessee, over the last decade and plus, there's been enough crazy stuff going on. So you don't take anything for granted.
Yes.
All right. 7 o'clock, ESPN, Florida at Mississippi.
This is going to be a really nice SEC matchup. Mississippi should not have a problem. Now, one thing I want to bring up with Florida is they have to win their last 3 games, all of them, to qualify for bowl eligibility. So if they lose this game, doesn't matter what happens against Tennessee or Florida State, which are their remaining 2 games, Florida's out of the bowl eligibility.
Florida is, I think, the toughest, the most impressive 3-6 team that I can imagine because of the caliber of the schedule that they've played. I
think the 3 wins are Texas, Long Island University, and somebody else.
They got blown out by Kentucky.
Yeah, which is crazy. Somebody.
So look, Texas Florida. It should, perhaps pose a challenge to Mississippi. But look, this is a chance for Mississippi to win a home game. Lane Kiffin, I think, is going to be a big story in this game.
Yes, and that's my question, though. Is Lane Kiffin going to be distracted? Is he going to be playing against the team he might be coaching next year?
Look, Lane Kiffin has always been distracted.
Yes.
He's always had his eye on the next job.
Yes, coming from the Tennessee fan.
Nothing different for Lane Kiffin.
Yes.
All right. So 7 o'clock, ESPN2, Utah at Baylor.
Okay. Utah shouldn't have a problem.
It shouldn't. Look. I think Utah has no business being ranked 13th.
Yes.
Maybe they get tripped up. A lot of controversy swirling around Baylor. Of course, Mac Rhodes,
of course,
the AD and playoff committee chair, suspended, on leave, I guess you would say. So some intrigue there.
Yes.
Okay. 7:30 NBC, UCLA at Ohio State.
Well, there is Nico.
Nico revisits the side of the playoff loss from last year.
Yes. Where he got creamed, and I'm sure he'll get creamed twice in a row.
UCLA does do some strange things.
Yes, they do.
So, 7:30 ABC, of course, Texas, Georgia. We talked about
huge
that.
Game. We'll be watching.
That one between the hedges in Athens. Although I think you'll be a little focused on 7:30 ACC Network, Virginia Tech at Florida State.
Of course. We'll see if we can pull out a win.
All right. That, I think, the only other ranked team in action is in action late 10:15 ESPN TCU at BYU.
That's going to be a little bit past my bedtime, but BYU generally plays really well at home, so BYU shouldn't have a problem here.
Try to avoid the trap in between Texas Tech and Cincinnati.
Exactly.
But they are playing at home,
Mm-hmm.
like you said. So, that is the week in college football.
Such an exciting week.
Listen, if you want more of this, all you really have to do is subscribe. Now, it'd be nice if you liked the video.
Yes.
Or
and leave us some
commented as well.
And also, we're on social media. So we're on your favorite social media channels. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Just look us up on any of those social media channels. Married to Saturdays. You'll find us.
Yeah, and you can get a little teaser. Sometimes we'll post little video clips of the of what we have in the podcast. So if you want to hear one of our spicier takes or something a little more intriguing,
come follow us on social.
Yeah, and but you can always get the podcast, and it's delivered to you. You can listen whenever you want it. Hit that subscribe button.
Subscribe
That's
button.
the key.